The night was cold enough to make the air sting. Icy winds sliced through the empty streets, howling between the tall, sleeping buildings like a lonely ghost. Ethan pulled his frayed jacket tighter around himself, his breath turning to mist as he stood beneath the flickering light of the bus stop. The city had long gone quiet, save for the occasional hiss of passing tires and the distant hum of neon signs. He shifted his weight, rubbing his hands together for warmth. He had just finished a late shift at the diner, his second job. His shoes were soaked, his stomach half empty, and his paycheck already spoken for: rent, groceries, and the hospital bill for his mother. Life had become a balancing act on a fraying rope, and every day felt like a test of how much he could endure before the world demanded too much. As he stood there, lost in thought, a figure appeared from the darkness, a woman. She moved hesitantly, arms wrapped around herself, shivering violently in the cold. Her coat was missing, replaced by only a thin blouse and skirt, far too light for the freezing night. Ethan glanced at her. She was clearly not someone used to being out this late. Her heels were muddy, her makeup slightly smudged, and her expression distant, like she'd been through something. He hesitated for a moment. Then, without overthinking, he shrugged off his jacket and stepped forward. "Hey, you look freezing," he said softly, holding it out. "Here, take this." She looked at him, surprised. "Oh no, I can't, really, you need it more than I do." Ethan smiled faintly. "I've been cold all day. I'm used to it. You don't look like you are." Something in his voice, a mix of gentleness and quiet exhaustion, made her stop arguing. She accepted the jacket, pulling it tightly around her shoulders. It was worn, but warm. "Thank you," she whispered. "You didn't have to." He shrugged again. "Maybe not, but sometimes people just need a little kindness. Bus should be here soon." They waited in silence. The only sounds were the wind and the occasional hum of the streetlight above them. Ethan didn't ask her who she was or what she was doing there. He just offered a small smile and said, "Rough night, huh?" Her eyes glistened for a moment before she nodded. "Yeah, you could say that." When the bus finally arrived, Ethan let her board first. She turned to him, as if wanting to say something more, but the driver was impatient, and the doors closed between them. The next morning, Ethan woke early. He had a job interview at an office downtown, a small logistics company. It wasn't much, but it was stable, and that was all he wanted, a chance to stop running from bills, to finally breathe. He ironed his only shirt, brushed off his worn shoes, and left his tiny apartment. As he stepped into the office lobby, nerves twisted in his stomach. The receptionist led him to a glass-walled conference room where he was told to wait. He clasped his hands, whispering a silent prayer that this one would work out. Minutes later, the door opened, and there she was, the same woman from the bus stop. Except now, she wasn't shivering. She wasn't lost or fragile. She stood tall and composed, wearing a sharp gray suit and confident smile. "Mr. Carter," she said warmly. "It's good to see you again." Ethan blinked, stunned. You're the..." She nodded, smiling. "The woman you gave your jacket to last night. I didn't get to thank you properly." He was speechless. She extended her hand. "I'm Claire Donovan, CEO of Donovan Logistics. I believe you're here for the operations assistant position." Ethan's mind spun. Of all the people in the city, of all the bus stops, he had offered his jacket to the CEO of the company he was about to interview for. He nodded awkwardly. "Why yes, ma'am." Claire smiled, motioning for him to sit. "Let's skip the formal questions. I think I already know what kind of person you are." The interview that followed wasn't typical. She didn't ask about his degrees or his experience. Instead, she asked about his life, his mother, his jobs, how he managed to keep going despite it all. She listened with genuine interest, her expression softening with every word. By the end, she stood, offered her hand again, and said, "You start Monday." "And Ethan," she smiled warmly. "Don't lose that kindness. It's rarer than talent." Months passed. Ethan thrived at Donovan Logistics. What began as a small assistant role grew into something bigger. Claire mentored him personally, teaching him not just about business, but about leadership and resilience. He discovered that Claire had once been through her own hardships. She'd built her company from scratch after losing everything in her 20s. That night at the bus stop, she had just walked out of a disastrous board meeting where her closest partners had tried to force her out. She'd been ready to give up, to disappear into the night. But one small act of kindness, a worn-out jacket from a stranger, had reminded her that goodness still existed. That maybe, she could keep fighting. And fight she did, with renewed determination. She not only kept the company alive but grew it beyond anything she'd imagined. And she made sure Ethan grew with it. Over the next few years, Ethan became one of the company's youngest department heads. He paid off his mother's hospital bills, moved her to a safer home, and even started night school to finish the degree he'd abandoned years ago. Claire often said to him, sometimes, the smallest gestures come back in the biggest ways. One winter evening, exactly 3 years after that night, they stood together outside the same bus stop. Snow fell gently, blanketing the street in silence. Ethan handed her a coffee. Feels like a lifetime ago, he said, smiling. Claire nodded. It was a lifetime ago, for both of us. She looked at him, her breath misting in the cold. You didn't know who I was that night. You just saw someone in need. That kind of heart, you can't teach that. Ethan chuckled. You changed my life, Claire. She shook her head softly. No, Ethan, you changed mine first. They stood there for a while, two people connected by chance, by kindness, by a jacket that had meant more than warmth. And as the bus rumbled past, Ethan realized something profound. The world doesn't always reward wealth, power, or talent first. Sometimes, it rewards compassion, the quiet kind that expects nothing in return. Because one act of kindness can change a life. Sometimes two.